Just for Anita, the guidelines have been published on the England Athletics website now, so you can go on and have a look at those.
Yeah.
And also, Ed Hunt is liaising with quite a lot of the councils and trying to persuade them to open up. So England Athletics are on it for the facilities. And if you do get any pushback, then it's worth trying to get in touch with Ed Hunt from England Athletics, because he is quite influential with the councillors. So that's a tip for that one. And I want to talk about coach motivation, really.
Yeah.
Because I put in the Q&A thing, well, we've been doing quite a lot, but I'm exhausted because it's all one-to-one coaching. So I'm going out and meeting my group individually instead of 3 sessions a week, I'm kind of doing like 10 sessions a week.
Oh, what age are they, Janice?
Well, most of them are under 20s and seniors. I've got a couple of under 17s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just exhausting. Fortunately, I retired this year, so I have got the time.
Do you know what? Right now, we were talking about, the positive that can come out of this. And one of them is that you need to give a little more ownership to the guys that can actually train on their own.
Yeah, well, they're doing most of their sessions on their own, but they like to, because we can meet up one-to-one.
If you'll run yourself ragged, they want it, they're going to do the work.
They do the work, and they just need to. Some of them are training in pairs, so
okay.
Some of them are paired up, and others just want that little bit of a one-to-one. And I also agree with Donovan about some of the athletes feeling unfair. So I've got a hurdler who medalled at the under 18s, and then he did the European under 20s, and he was 5th at the World under 20 championships and 5th fastest under 20 in the UK. But having competed then for 4 solid years, we decided to take kind of a down year for his mental health, and he was at university. Couldn't have done a worse year, because then going into this year, he obviously didn't get any performances, so he's kind of fallen off the ladder. So his motivation, it's okay, but he does feel that he shouldn't have taken that down year. But it's important for the athletes to have a down year, especially as they go from under 20 to senior in a technical event like that. So it's kind of, couldn't have been worse timing, but I still think we did the right thing. But it's just persuading him that, and in 4 years' time, after another cycle, will I be able to persuade him to have another down year?
Well,
He's going to fall off the performance ladder, if you like.
Maybe. It's about his personal drive and his goals. What is it? You talk about his long-term goals. What are they?
So long-term would be Paris.
Okay.
If he gets to that standard, but certainly Commonwealth, not Birmingham, but wherever it is after Birmingham.
Right. I think that it might be a good idea. I'm going to show you in a minute, but it might be a good idea to let him fill in a SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's just gonna refocus. It will just help him refocus. I've just had some athletes do that. It's a good idea. Simple thing. SWOT analysis.
Janice, can I just... Is everything answered now, Janice?
Yeah, that's fine. You can mute me again.
Okay. I've got one more person that wants to get a question. Malcolm was talking about one of the other questions. Also, Harry, if you're going to run anything else, we're running out of time.
Yes, sir.
For those next 25 slides.
Yeah.
So, this was the question, Malcolm. As coaches, this is from Rob Wilson, as coaches, not psychologists, how can we help change younger 12 to 15-year-old athletes and some parents who might be more extrinsically focused, motivated, looking to more longer intrinsic, when coaches are looking to long-term development, but often parents, and by definition, their athletes, want immediate rewards?
Yeah, good question, and it does remind me of something that I thought that might come up through this session. Obviously, probably not many are psychologists on here, either trained or through study. But as coaches and teachers and parents, you practice psychology every day. So in my book, you're already a psychologist, whether you have a piece of paper or whether you did 3 or 4 years at university or whatever. Whether you realize or not, you practice psychology every day. And so in terms of back to one of our primary points over this webinar is know your athlete, as completely as you can, and recognize that the athlete that you knew yesterday, last week, last month, whenever, last year, is not the one that's sitting in front of you today. And, it does require more effort from the coach or the teacher to stay on top of this. And notwithstanding what Janice mentioned, you've actually got more time on your hands than you would do normally. If you're not doing all this, number of evenings, number of days coaching sessions that you were doing. And then I must apologize, I lost the last part of the question, Martin.
It was looking for a more longer-term intrinsic way. If you've got parents that want success now, how do you get them to buy into a longer-term success program? So it might not happen this year, or this year's been a disaster, or as I've had it, this race is a disaster, therefore, the whole program's rubbish. No, this race was a disaster. Let's
Yeah.
There isn't a switch or a complete answer, first of all. It's about how individually you're going to deal with the situation, and whoever the parent is, whoever the young athlete is, they can all read, they can all go online, they can all see the television, they all know what's happening. So maybe a little bit you have to deal with what may or may not be denial on the part of the parent. Can my Johnny, Jane, whatever they were going to be this year, is next year too far away for us to focus on that rather than spend time or waste time on worrying about what isn't going to happen this year. I mean, it's the coach, as well as knowing the athlete, and I realize we all, again, work in different situations, has to know the parents, has to know the family background, has to key into what the triggers are for the parents. And, sometimes it will require, not harsh talking, but, fairly plain talking, that what you are doing, mom or dad, isn't the most positive thing for your athlete at the moment, your child at the moment. Here's how I'm reassessing our goals. Here's how I'm reassessing my goals as a coach. Here's what I think your son, daughter should be looking at. Not sure if that answers it.
It's funny because what we've just spoke about is exactly here. Is the connection is so important right now. And then if we look at, nothing happens without this bit over here. Right now, people are on screen so much with all this blue screen light, which is affecting the quality of their sleep. If it affects the quality of your sleep, it's going to affect the quality of what you eat, because it's a vicious circle. So the well-being now is more important than anything else. And short-term goals are massively important to keep motivation going. So all these things link. And I think right now, encourage athletes to set tasks that they can complete, so they can see the end, because the long-term goal, they can't see it. Set exercise sessions that are challenging and aligned to the long-term goal. Encourage pleasurable, fun activities, positive mood. That goes without saying. I think that I put this slide in there more for the coaches. Well, it's more about people, okay? So if we look at a holistic approach, and if we were to say that this is a coach's hierarchy of needs, there are things in there. We were talking about being emotionally intelligent. Right now, it's absolutely paramount that you know your athletes, as Malcolm was saying, is that being an inspirational leader, mentor, is what you really need now to keep them on track. But also as coaches now, we need to look at ourselves and look after ourselves. Otherwise, nothing happens. And this is a stressful time. And there are very simple things that we can do as coaches. We send the athletes out to do it, but we need to kind of look at ourselves and know, when was the last time we went out and walked or ran in or jogged or whatever in nature? I know Martin's always out with his dogs. Absolutely perfect. It's the best thing you can do for your mind and body is to go out in nature, and it helps you rebalance. And also, just to do I was talking about a SWOT analysis or a life wheel, and it's in the other stuff that we've already presented. Is that these things help us as coaches look at ourselves as well, which is also very important. How do we retain motivation? We communicate. And this is what we were talking about, is that communication, the depth of communication, the quality of communication is going to be key. And we need to allow time to discuss and adjust programs and include the athletes in that reprogramming and refocusing and share their opinions and give them a chance to voice it. And then they will take ownership.
Can I just ask you, Rachel just quickly asked, where did this hierarchy of coaches' needs come from?
Out of my head. It came from there. It came from being around people like Malcolm Coomber.
Well, it's also an adaptation of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I mean I mean if you look at the two of them side by side, you can see how they would interlock.
That's right. Yeah. But they are. Is what I see, and if you look over on the left, I think that's more important. The things on the left. And we all want to be happy coaches. But there's a lot to coaching. That's what I'm trying to say there. There's a lot to it, into what makes up a coach. So the realization for athletes is that, with this open discussion on Zoom calls with their other people that they normally train with, is that they get this realization that others feel the same. And that will help them relieve anxiety and promote this camaraderie and well-being that they had. So they don't feel this disassociation so much. And goals, they should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And what Malcolm was talking about, measurable, is that right now, a short-term goal could be, how many press-ups can you do in a minute? It's still a goal. And you just design that with some circuits, and suddenly you're going to refocus and keep them, drive motivation back again. So I think the review is absolutely paramount right now. But there should be a mixed bag of short-term goals that lead towards the long-term goal. And it could be things that they've been bad at before. So now you're going to challenge them. Food diary, you're going to challenge them. Where is your daily diary for your circuits? And all these little things make a massive difference down the road. So there is pluses to lockdown, and be very flexible with that approach. I think right now, I think that this grow model that over here, the grow model, a very set of questions that we as coaches ask ourselves, and we ask some of the athletes as well. What do you want? And how are you going to get there? And what could you do? And what will you do? And I think they're just questions that people need to keep asking themselves, and it will keep the athletes thinking, keep them thinking. But a SWOT analysis, from what I've just got back from some athletes, absolutely deep insight into how they're thinking right now as young athletes, student athletes. And that is so valuable right now to know how are they thinking, how are they feeling right now.
If I could add to that, one of the things, the value of sending something out to the athletes individually is they may talk or share things that they may not usually share with you in a group. So it's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, and the other thing that and this is true because I was saying the other day that I hadn't had too many SWOT analysis come back to me, and Malcolm said to me, "Did you put a time on it?" So, you know, and it is true that, you know, you should be asking them things right now and then giving them a time to get it back to you. But the SWOT analysis, someone needs one, just email me and I'll send it to you. But I think it's done a great trick right now. Great trick right now.